Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are delighted to have you with us to talk all about two of our favorite topics here at Reveal Mobile, paid social and foot traffic attribution. This is a webinar where we hope to reveal a whole bunch of insights into how to make these two worlds come together and also make a whole lot of sense. So let me go ahead and just jump in with a couple of introductions and talk through today's agenda. My name is Dan, and I look after marketing here with Laura at Reveal Mobile, and we're delighted to talk through this content today. Laura, how are you?
I am great. I'm really happy to be here. Hi, everybody.
So, folks, on the left side of your screen here, you can see we're going to be talking through just some context-setting slides around where the retail economy is right now. That is, where are the hearts and minds of shoppers? Where are the hearts and minds and muscles of retailers? And then how that comes together in terms of advertisers and where we're spending our money and what kind of return we're seeing for it. And then we're going to unpack how to really run paid social campaigns and expect clear attribution reports on the other side. Not attribution in terms of click-throughs or in terms of reach, but real visits to real physical places. And then we're going to wrap up the webinar with a couple of examples showing you real retailers, real agency stories that are running campaigns on behalf of their clients today and showing you the results of what they're doing. So with all that to say, questions are super important. Anytime you have questions for us, Laura or me, or anything we can go chase down for you, ask them. No problem, anything goes. We don't shy away from questions, whether it's around data, privacy, ROI, marketing channels, reliability of attribution, any of those things, we like it all. So pop your questions into the questions box whenever they occur to you. We'll let them stack up. And then we should have you out of here by probably, I'd say, a quarter to the hour. We'll be done in the next 30, 45 minutes, depending on the number of questions we get. So with that, Laura, you ready to roll forward here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. So the first thing I want to talk through on the webinar today is how we're returning to stores. Now, this may seem like an old story, but it's changing all the time, right? Because we know the pandemic is changing all the time, and people's tolerance for exposure is also changing all the time, right? We know, just like you know, that reliable and dependable news is hard to come by in some cases. Nonetheless, we are returning to stores in droves. So the takeaway from this store is that discretionary retail, that is the kinds of stores where we go spend money for retail therapy, are seeing a lot of shoppers come back in high volume. So you can see right there in the middle of the chart, at the height of the beginning of the pandemic, when nobody really knew what was going on, half of our shopping was happening online, and half of our shopping in the US was happening in stores, right? So some of us were still going, braving it out, but frankly, we all migrated to things like Instacart and Amazon and Walmart.com or wherever the places had the stuff we needed to buy, right? But you can see over time, and this chart only goes through September of last year, so it's a little bit dated. I have more recent data on the following slides. You can see that as soon as it was roughly safe to come outside, we started to go back to stores in pretty high numbers. So we're now shopping almost at the same levels in store as we were before the pandemic was even a word on our lips, right? 71% of us were shopping in store before the pandemic started. We're now back to 64, and frankly, that number has even gotten better since September of 21. So this tells you shoppers, at least, are feeling pretty bullish about going out and shopping. That's good news for your category. This chart on this slide shows you how the pandemic has affected us across a much broader span of time. So thinking back to the dark ages of the 2008 Great Recession, you can see that consumer confidence took a huge nosedive, right? The index here is 100. So think of 100 as 0 or flat line. Below 100 is low consumer confidence. Above 100 is high consumer confidence, relatively speaking. So back in 08, 09, it went through the floor. And then you can see when the pandemic hit, it also went through the floor, but the floor wasn't so deep, right? In 2020, in 2021. Certainly it took a hit. It's nothing to make light of. But even with Delta and the Omicron variant, consumer confidence has remained fairly durable, right? And we're looking for bright spots along the way. So even when we see good news or when we see, mask mandates lifted, or whatever the case might be, we are going back to stores and with higher consumer confidence than we had even when there was no pandemic, of course, 14 years ago, when just the economy was really, in the basement. So all that to say, here's what's happening on the retail side. The NRF, everyone's favorite professional association for retailers across the US, announced just recently that 8,000 new stores opened last year, which was twice the number of stores that closed. So that tells me that not only are shoppers optimistic, but retailers themselves are optimistic. And then NPD Group, which is an analyst firm that covers the retail category, is talking about how consumers are very hungry for that in-person shopping experience. Retail therapy is a real thing, right? So when we want to go out and be social with our friends and have a shared experience and be in a store with things we like to use and touch and try, that's good mental, wellness for us, right? All of us here.
I couldn't agree more with that, Dan, because literally I have a couple of friends and my sister, whenever they come to visit, we always go to TJ Maxx. Like it's just what we do
Yeah,
when they come, because it's just exactly, it's an experience together to just shop. And even if you don't end up getting anything, it still is a fun thing to do that's cathartic and enjoyable.
100%, 100%. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's spot on. And then lastly, you can see here that we're doing it when Laura and her friends are going out to TJ Maxx, they're spending with a vengeance, right? We know, and this is the discretionary retail category we talked about a minute ago. We're spending on stuff that we don't really even need to keep our lives going. We just want it, right? So when we're going out,
I'm pretty sure I need more picture frames, Dan.
I think you
I
do.
need them to keep my life going.
You know what? I think that's actually a really
And
smart.
throw pillows for every
Oh my
season.
gosh. Picture frames, totally. Picture frames and throw pillows. You're inspiring me, Laura. I think I'm going to go get an essential oil vaporizer. What do you think?
Okay.
I mean, I need that.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, the bottom line here, folks, you can see that consumers are on the rise in terms of our own offline shopping behavior, that is going to stores. Retailers are following suit by opening stores, and the mainstream media and the mainstream analyst ecosystem is, of course, following suit in terms of reporting how these things are playing out. So our phones haven't gone away, right? We're still using our phones to do things and to shop, but I want to just create a distinction between how we're using different apps to solve different kinds of problems. So you're walking down the street one day and you need a caffeine boost. So what do? You search coffee near me. Or all of a sudden you need a taco like nobody's business. What do you search? Right? Tex-Mex near me, whatever you want to eat. Here, someone's looking for, they're doing errands on a Saturday, they're running around getting some wine, getting some groceries, and they need light bulbs or they need a garden hose. It's spring. So they're looking for a hardware store near me, right? So this is something that people are doing to solve immediate problems. They know what they need and they're on a mission. But what are people doing when they're just browsing, right? We used to go into stores, we used to touch clothes, we used to try shoes on, we used to test out new electronics. Well, frankly, we're doing that now on social media. So now I don't need a grill, right? I have one, but gosh, you know what? I could really upgrade. So what I'm getting now in my feed is an ad for the grill I could have from the hardware store that I already shop at. And I know, Laura, you talk about this all the time in terms of scrolling through Instagram and being served all kinds of cool ads, right?
Oh yeah, I love when I get targeted ads that really make sense to me, because it really does, it actually shows me the products that I would be interested in. I just had a baby, well, she'll be a year old soon, but one of my favorite products that I found was like this portable bottle warmer, and I got so many ads for it because after, searching and being parts of groups and stuff like that and buying things online, they knew I had a baby. So and I bought one of that because I didn't even know the product existed until I started getting the ads on my Instagram feed.
Yeah, there you go. So we're now discovering things we could want or could need on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, on TikTok, in ways that we used to discover what we thought we needed or wanted by simply just going out and having, a shopping experience. So that's where the rubber meets the road. In this webinar, you are looking to drive awareness, you're looking to drive interest, you're looking to persuade your audience on these platforms and then get them to come to your Ace hardware store or your Trader Joe's or your Shoe Carnival or whatever the case might be. So all that to say, worlds are converging and they're converging around people's phones and product discovery. Let me ask though, this quick question around your own goals relative to social media ads. So you have priorities when you advertise on social. It could be any number of things. You're doing it for brand awareness, you're doing it for product discoveries we just talked about, you're looking to drive sales. Tell us in this poll, what are your goals? When you advertise on social, and you can select as many as you'd like, what are you hoping to achieve? Do you want to drive awareness, just general, hey, we exist? Are you looking for people to understand that they could go buy this awesome non-alcoholic mixer for their weekend cocktails if they're having a dry month? Are you looking to get traffic to your website to drive purchases? Or frankly, do you want people to come into your brick and mortar locations and pull things off the shelf and check out at the cashier? Or are we not even talking about things you're doing, and that's the other box? So take a second, go ahead and vote on this, fill in as many boxes as you'd like, and I'll share the results here in just a moment. You can all see where everybody falls on this.
Also, if you are clicking other, drop what you are trying to do into the questions box, so we have an idea of what you are most interested in, so you better tailor the webinar.
Oh yeah, good call, Laura. All right, it looks like we've got about 3/4 of people have voted. We'll give it another few seconds for any last minute decisions around the conference room. All right, let me go ahead and share the results, and everyone can see where we landed. So the vast majority of us are driving sales. That's interesting. That's great to see, right? Smart. And you want to have those kinds of results, whether it's an online purchase or an in-store purchase. That's really the name of the game, and that's exactly why you're in this webinar today, and what we're going to teach you more about in terms of in-store traffic and sales. Interesting to see that maybe brand awareness and product discovery are something of the same, but really I distinguish between the two as product discovery is exactly what it sounds like. Hey, this product exists. You should try it out because you seem like you're in our target demographic. Versus brand awareness, which is, hey, you didn't even know that this business or this store or this location existed before. We're in your neighborhood. Come have dinner or come buy a garden hose, whatever the case might be. And as Laura said, if any other ideas came up and weren't covered in those categories, just pop them into the questions box and we'll look at those here as we go. So as far as unpacking discovery, if you had any doubt about how this actually is truly happening, 75% of consumers are discovering new needs via social media today. So as I mentioned, it used to be walking into stores and, wow, I didn't know those were so cool, let's get a pair. Now it's, oh, I was scrolling on my feed and I saw this really great, cute outfit for my new baby in Laura's case. This is Facebook data, so of course it's going to have a little bit of that flavor to it. Nonetheless, we have to believe it's good, reliable data. They do this study every year, so it's got rigor, it's got validity, and it's got value. But that's just discovery, right? There's more to it than that. We don't care if people see our stuff. We care mostly, as we saw in the results here in the poll, that they buy our stuff. Good news here, half of us are also purchasing products that we've seen on social media. And you can see here, it's not just in the organic feed from your friends recommending products and services, it's actually 33% of all ad exposure is driving purchases via an ad. And that would be either online purchases, as we talked about a minute ago, or in-store purchases, which we're going to tie together here in the next section of the webinar. But I wanted to leave you with these data points because it certainly stands to reason that the money you're putting into paid social is smart money. This next section talks about how to actually make it work harder for you and work smarter for you. So with that, Laura, talk us through location as a way to think about intent and purchase.
Yes. So when we think about intent, sometimes we think about cookies, or we think about, people who have put stuff into their shopping cart and then abandoned it. But how we think about intent is by location signals, meaning that where people go mean that they're in market for the product or service that you're promoting. So we're going to look at this kind of example through Planet Fitness. So in this case, somebody who goes to Planet Fitness is interested in their health. Maybe they're trying to, stay fit or get fit for, swimsuit season that's right around the corner. So if you are Planet Fitness, or if you're advertising on behalf of Planet Fitness in this example, you could geo-target your own locations, or the ones that you're in charge of. So that way you can retain your customers, you can promote your loyalty, and maybe even tell them to invite a friend. So here you would just geofence locations that you have, capture the mobile device IDs for those that visit that location that are clearly interested in those things and have the intent for that, and remarket to them. And then we have two other use cases about this geofencing as well when it comes to intent. So one way you could do it is still from the perspective of Planet Fitness is you can geo-target locations where people would also have the intent to buy, in this case, gym memberships. So you could geo-conquest Orange Theory or Crunch or 24-Hour Fitness, different kinds of gyms that either match the same kind of price or maybe the style of workout that you have available. So obviously Planet Fitness is mostly just kind of a regular gym where you walk in and use the equipment, but they do also have classes and for a significantly discounted price compared to a Crunch Fitness or an Orange Theory. So in this case, they could geo-target their competitors and use that. And then we think outside the box as well. And here again, intent from location signals. So the people that go to gyms, or that would be most likely to go to gyms, care about their fitness, they want to be healthy, and they also wear gym clothes to the gym. So in this case, you can geo-target places like Sprouts, which is a health food store, at least in our area. I'm not sure how big they really are. Whole Foods as well, the Vitamin Shop, because they sell supplements and protein and everything like that. And then we have Athleta and Lululemon as well, because those are a completely different category than gym and fitness. So they sell apparel that you would wear to the gym. So people who shop there most likely have an intent to go to the gym. So therefore, they'd be in market for the products and services that Planet Fitness sells.
And the really cool thing about this last category, Laura, is, as you said, it's thinking outside the box, using location data. And if you're using a geofencing marketing platform, that technology should be able to tell you where else your Planet Fitness, athletes are shopping. So in this case, we looked at the data, and the data told us that Planet Fitness people who work out at Planet Fitness are buying groceries at Sprouts and are buying clothes at Lululemon and are getting their supplements at the Vitamin Shop. So it's a really smart investment to go target those locations, because that's where your ideal customer is also going. So it's a nice way to sort of double down in confidence on what you're expecting to have happen on the back end with buying memberships, as you said. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So when it comes to gyms and fitness, we did a really big study, and we looked at we asked a lot of different marketers what they thought that the opportunity was in different categories. And in the gym and fitness categories, 42% of the digital marketers that we asked saw an opportunities for location-based ads in this category, but only 32% of them are actually investing in geo-targeted ads. So that means that there's definitely room to expand in this particular category. And then we have a lot of different data on different types of categories, as well as further data into gyms and fitness, as well as location-based ads in our white paper right there. So if you want to grab the bit.ly link, you can. We will be sending out a recording of this as well, so you'll be able to capture that later. But bit.ly links are easy to just type in if you want to pull that up and take a look at it later.
Right on. We'll leave that on the screen for an extra 2 seconds in case people want to tap that into their phones.
Yep. And we can always pull this back up at the end as well. If you drop that into the question box, right. We can always pull it back up.
So walk us through the equation on how to do this, Laura, how to correlate paid social ads to foot traffic.
Yes. So with the right kind of geofencing marketing software, you can actually measure the impact of your ads. So we're going to kind of look at this from soup to nuts. So first, you build your audience. So in that Planet Fitness example, we would build the audience of Planet Fitness goers. We would build the audience of people who visited the competitors, and then as well as where else the ideal customer also visits. And let's just throw a number out there and say that that's 1 million audience members. And then you push that audience into Facebook, Instagram, any kind of social media channel, as well as most DSPs could accept this kind of data too. In this case, we'll pretend that we're running it on Facebook. And Facebook matched 75% of those 1 million audience members. Now we have an audience of 750,000 people that we can reach with our targeted ads based on the intent location signals that we were able to capture. And then we can measure store visits. So back into the geofencing marketing platform, we can see how many of the people in the audience showed back up in the store that you care about. A lot of people call these conversion zones. So you can tell if that same device that was in your audience has shown back up in your location, therefore tracking the impact of the campaign on real world store visits.
Nice. Okay. So we have some examples, I think, to talk through what this looks like for various industries, right?
Yes, so this is one of my favorites. This is for Roundtable. It's a pretty decent sized regional pizza chain. So we're going to look at this whole campaign example that we've been talking about, put it all together. So Roundtable Pizza has over 400 locations around the US. In this example, foot traffic looks like it's down. However, the competitor foot traffic is up. You can see that for Pizza Hut, Little Caesars, Fuddruckers, in that bottom right-hand graph there, that the foot traffic is up to the competitors. There's also a lot of repeat visitors that you can see. 46% of people have visited more than one time in the last 30 days. So it's time to get some new customers and increase foot traffic. So we need to innovate. So in this case, we are going to remarket to the people that have been coming to our Roundtable Pizza shops. So if we look back a certain period of time and we geo-target our own locations, we pulled almost 280,000 devices. To win market share, we geo-targeted Pizza Hut and Bricks and got almost another 1 million devices. And then for net new acquisition, people who go to Fuddruckers would like burgers, they like beer, they like, games and stuff like that. That's, what Roundtable's ideal customers are, definitely fit that profile too. So we're going to geo-target Fuddruckers and find another 88,000 devices. Once we aggregate those devices and we push them into Facebook, uploading a custom audience list is super easy. You may have done this before with phone numbers or email addresses that you have from your CRM, and you can do the same thing with these mobile ad IDs. This is a video of me uploading a list to Facebook. It's really this simple. When we push these real audiences into Facebook for an estimate match, we got between 70 and 80% match rates. So the match rates were really great. They were above average, because average can be anywhere between about 40 and 60%. So these particular audiences, probably based on the demographic, were really, they matched at a really high rate. And then we run our ad. So this is a Facebook ad for Roundtable Pizza. We didn't run this ad, we just pulled one of their examples. But this is one, and you use the creative that will be really eye-catching. You get your catchy headers and your calls to actions, and then after your campaign, or even during your campaign if you want, you can look at the impact through this foot traffic attribution report. So here you can see your daily conversions along the top, so you can really see if there are spikes maybe on Saturdays, maybe dips on Tuesdays, so you can kind of see where your trends are. Foot traffic is up 4% during this campaign. We're only about 2/3 of the way through. And then our favorite chart right in the middle there, audience conversion. So out of the 1.2 million devices that we targeted, 72,000 of them actually came back into the store so far. And so you can see that right there. Then if you multiply the real store visits by the average ticket size, which we estimate is about $35, that's $2.5 million in pizza. And it's really great that you can see the real business impact of your social media spend. So you can actually calculate your ROI. I'm sure that they didn't spend $2 million on Facebook ads, so you can do a simple math problem and figure out exactly what your ROI is on this real in-store traffic.
So just so I understand this, we've cordoned off this audience of 1.23 million devices, and we've isolated them in a Facebook campaign. And then in the background, we're tracking those same audience members for where they go in terms of Roundtable Pizza. Is that right?
Yep, we can see when they come back into the store.
Awesome. Okay, that's a great example. I've got a quick poll question for everyone, and then I've got one more example I'm going to talk through, an agency out of the Midwest and their story. But let me put this question in front of you and ask you this about geofencing. Are you doing this now? So when you think about your own practices, whether you're an agency or whether you're a retailer or a brand, are you currently running geofencing or location-based campaigns that are leveraging location as an intent signal? This is not a multiple. This is not a multi-select. It's one and done. So it's a yes no. You've tried it in the past, but it didn't work really well, or you're just not doing it for whatever reason currently. You're thinking about it, right? You're thinking about it in the some phase of decision, or you just flat out don't know. And there's no right answer here. Of course, we just want to get a feel for whether or not this is actually happening in your organization today. And I'll share these results here in a moment. And if you're in that we have in the past but are not currently camp, I'd be really curious to know, and I know Laura would be too, why you stopped. So if you're of a mind to share in that questions box again, you know, why did you start and then stop? It's always good for us to know what broke or what didn't perform, so we can get a feel for how the market is behaving. All right, so with that, let me see, everyone's voted. Let me share the results. Fully 61% of people are doing this today, Laura. That's fantastic. Wow.
That's really good. We asked this question because we're always trying to figure out where people are at, and that's actually probably the highest that we've seen. So that means that they were calling for location-based marketing to be growing exponentially, and we're seeing it in real time too, which is kind of cool.
Totally. And you were talking earlier, Laura, about running these ads on social or on demand-side platforms.
Yes.
I'm wondering if there are other channels people are running them in. Are they, are you using location data with out of home? Are you using location data with streaming video? Again, share those insights with us if you have a mind to. But you're right, 61% of it is a super high ratio for this kind of question. All right, one more example here I want to walk you through, and this is around Ace Hardware. There is a group of Ace Hardwares in the Midwest owned by a holding company, Westlake Ace, and they're represented by an agency out of Kansas City, actually called Truzzolo. And Truzzolo had a fairly consequential task in front of them. Ace came to them and said, hey, we have all these Westlake Ace Hardwares. In fact, we have 150 of them, and they're not all the same, right? They all look a little bit different. For the stores that are established in established neighborhoods and people have been shopping there, we need more people to come back more often. So that's bullet number 2. We need to boost loyalty for those stores where we've been in the market for a while. Help us. We also, by the way, have new stores. We just opened up and we need new customers for those stores. So that's a different problem to solve. People don't know we exist. Now we're in the neighborhood. Tell everyone we're here and they can start shopping at Ace and stop going to Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever they might be going shopping with the competition. Oh, and by the way, agency Truzzolo, the metric we're going to hold you to is same store sales. So whatever the case, old store, new store, we need to see a net increase in same store sales month over month, and that's how we're going to measure it. So Truzzolo had their work cut out for them, right? Here's what they did. The first thing they wanted to do was to increase loyalty to established stores, is retarget people who've been coming to those stores all along. So Westlake Ace made sure they geofenced those existing locations for Westlake Ace, and they ran ads in earnest on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can see here an example of one of their ads for grills. Everyone loves a good grill, right? And this was a holiday campaign. You can wrap it in red. It was seasonal, and that was their solution for getting people to make sure they would come back to Westlake Ace that they've been shopping at in the past. And then they had this other problem of net new customer acquisition in immature markets where Westlake was a new player. So what they did was they looked at their geofencing marketing data and they said, hey, show us how far consumers are traveling to get to these stores. Because we know there's some volume of shoppers coming to Westlake Ace, even though it's a new store, the volume isn't where we want it to be. But we know we can look at a baseline of distance traveled for people who live in the area and people who work in the area. And we can use that data to make smarter investment decisions in other channels, both online and offline. So you can see here that Truzzolo looked at the data and they saw 81% of Westlake Ace's shoppers lived or worked within 5 miles of the location that they were visiting. And this is for new stores. And here's a quote from one of their campaign delivery directors at Truzzolo. they're using these analytics reports to understand how to market and how to target through direct mail and through out of home. So they're not doing ad buys and they're not doing mailers for any point on the circumference outside the 5-mile mark, because they're a critical mass inside that 5-mile radius with 81% of shoppers. So that's where they're going to draw the most effective audience at the most cost-effective price. So they did those two things. They brought customers back to existing stores. They acquired net new customers for new stores. And here's what happened. Using Westlake Ace's average revenue per visitor, Trozzolo's actually counted more than $300,000 in top-line sales and attributed that to social media ad spend. Now, for the period that they were measuring that 300K, Trozzolo only spent 54,000 and change. So that's a return on ad spend of 550%. And of course, they're doing that, as I mentioned, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest. They're running out of home. They're running direct mail. This attribution report is for the social piece of that, retargeting and bringing customers back. So with a return on ad spend of 550%, they went back to Ace and said, hey, this is working. We're going to keep running ads on Facebook. We're going to keep running ads on Pinterest and on Instagram, and we're going to get those same store sales to keep increasing. And you can see just for March, just for 1 month, March 2021, Trozzolo was able to attribute 115,814 walk-ins to those Westlake Aces that the client was looking to keep same store sales boosted at. That's a hard phrase to say. So all that to say, that's just one agency story around one client. And of course, you should be thinking about your own clients or your own locations if you're a retailer, and how this correlates to your own reality. Channels you're running ads in, returns you're seeing. This is a good benchmark, and results you could be achieving. So actually, we built a tool to help you with some of this. This is a completely free tool. We don't ask for a name or an email address or anything. You can just put in store names all day long and use it as much as you want to get your own foot traffic volume, to get your own daily foot traffic trends, to get the distance traveled of the average shopper at your store. It'll also show you the proportion of repeat customers who are coming to your stores. And it'll also give you competitive insights. You can go to this URL, visit.revealmobile.com/free. And again, this is not, there's no email blocker, there's no gated content. It's just a search bar and data and a report on the back end. So use it to your heart's content. If you don't see, as you type your chain into the box, it should be a type ahead. So it should fill in the options. If you type taco, it should fill in Taco Bell, Taco John's, Taco Villa, all the taco places. If for whatever reason your chain does not autofill, hit that blue link at the bottom where it says don't see the location you're looking for. Get a custom foot traffic report that will take you to a landing page, and then that report will be fulfilled for you on the back end. It won't be automatic, it won't be instant, but it'll be within within a business day. So with all that to say, please make use of this tool. It is free, it is for you, and we hope you get some value out of it. That takes us to questions. Here we are, Laura, at the very end of the webinar, where we can see what people are wondering about.
Yes.
Let's take a look. First question, how do I figure out where my ideal customers shop? You want to take a stab at that one?
Sure. So there's two answers to this. One is that we have the foot traffic analytics to give you an idea of that. We sometimes show that report in slides, but we did not today. There is a little chart at the bottom of a foot traffic report, like Dan was showing, that will show you where else your customers go. So you can either see, or there's two different charts. One has the different stores that they visit within your category. So whether it's big box or cosmetics or fit gyms and fitness, whichever one your category is in. And then there's another one that is all categories. So it'll show you, so it'll show you Subway, or it'll show you Verizon. So you kind of have an idea of where, your people bank, or where they, get their cell phone, get, whatever, or where else they shop for, grocery stores, things like that. The other answer is that nobody knows your customers like you do. You'll just might be able to fill in some gaps and find some other places that you didn't realize that they were going to with those charts. But you have a pretty good idea of who your target audience is, what kind of their general demographic, what else they're interested in, and can think about it like that as well.
Nice. Next question, super smart. What percentage of people who enter a geofence during a specific time frame can you recapture and can be retargeted?
Oh, yes, me that. Yeah, so any location-based marketing or location data provider can give you anywhere between about 5 to 15% of total visitors that enter your store. That's because we use completely privacy compliant, opted in only data. So it has to be, we're really white hat with our data. So we don't just collect anything. We don't, fudge any numbers or expand them out. So that way you have a real sample of an audience instead of anything that's probabilistic. Am I getting that one right, Dan?
Yep, that's right. You got it.
Yes. So that's roughly about the amount that you can see, but it's still a good sample of your total traffic.
Nice. And there's a follow-up question, which is directly related to the one that you just answered. And I'm going to take a first swing at this one.
Yeah.
So the asker sets the premise out, which you just said, the best geo-capture technology can only capture at most 15% of visitors, which is exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. How do you compensate for the 85% that you can't capture in terms of conversions? And there's really a two-part answer to this. The first part is you can extrapolate for the business, for reporting purposes, a multiple. So you can say, hey, we know this attribution report only reflects 10% of actual visits. We're going to apply a multiplier to it. So we're actually going to say it's not 10, it's 50, or it's not 10,000, it's 50,000, or maybe 8.5 times that number for the 85%. So you can apply and just extrapolate out what the actual conversion rate is based on your own knowledge of this space. The second part of this answer is that the geofencing technology that we're talking about today actually allows you to also target household devices. So what I mean by that is, let's say Laura goes to Whole Foods and does her shopping for the week, and she brings her phone home, and her husband didn't go to Whole Foods. He never goes to Whole Foods, that guy. We got to get that guy shopping. Let's start serving ads to Laura's husband and seeing if he'll go out and pick up groceries this week. So by virtue of targeting Laura's device, she's the one who went to Whole Foods, we can correlate that Laura's spouse also has a phone that lives in the same house and can serve ads to that phone as well for Whole Foods. We know Laura's the Whole Food shopper, but we know the husband needs to get off the sofa. So let's serve ads to both of them. And this technology allows you to target now everybody in the household who makes decisions around furniture, around a car, around a durable good or any kind of expensive purchase. So you're not just reaching the actual visitor, you're reaching the other opted-in adults in the same household with a similar offer. So it's a nice way to expand your audience and close that gap of the 15% who visited and make it more like 45%, right? Because you're always, as Laura said, never going to get every single person who visited. Anything to add to that, Laura, or does that cover it?
Those are really solid answers. I do have one more thing to add though as well. That you can run these kinds of geofencing audiences in tandem with your targeted audiences in Facebook. So this helps you kind of close the gap and make sure that you really get everybody, as well as capture people and serve ads to people based on the fact that they've been to the location, even if they don't match your core audience in Facebook. So if you think your ideal customer is one thing and you've got your your interests and your demographics and your zip codes and stuff in Facebook, but you may not be capturing everybody that goes to your store that way. So you can kind of they can work together. They can both be tools in your tool belt, and they don't even need to be kind of put up against each other. They should be working together to really make sure that you're advertising to as many people in your target audience, more of a general term, as possible.
Nice. Okay, next question is around Facebook and Instagram. How does your store visit attribution work? It's difficult to use Facebook and Instagram for store visit campaigns after they remove that metric from their reports, but not from their campaign type alternative. So this question asker is basically posing the problem of, how are you solving for foot traffic attribution when Facebook has stopped telling me that? So can you just talk again briefly through, Laura, how we correlate audience to traffic?
Yeah. So we have seen these devices in any of the locations that you've geo-targeted from your own to your competitors and elsewhere. And then you have that isolated audience that you push into Facebook. You serve your ads to those audience members, and then we can tell you of those audience members who showed back up since we capture those device IDs back in what some people call conversion zones, or back in the location, the geofences around the locations that you've selected.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Next question is around, it sounds like consumer packaged goods and big box stores.
Mhm.
We work with clients that have their products in Target or Walmart. We need to see if we can drive them to Target and Walmart, but we also need to know if these shoppers actually buy the brand we work on. Is that something like, is that solvable? How does that work? Is that even possible?
It's really hard. You would have to, I mean, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, you'd have to somehow correlate the mobile ad ID to POS data from Target and Walmart, which
Mm,
you may not have access to if you're just working with the brands, depending on how big the contract is, I guess, with the big box store. I guess one solution that would maybe work for you is inside of Visit Local, at least you can draw custom geofences. So they can be really small. And that, of course, when they're smaller, it's harder to capture, a larger sample of who is in the store, but at least it's a little bit more granular. But you could maybe not necessarily make a geofence as small as the aisle that the person has bought it, but maybe the department. At least that way, it's kind of put together where if you're selling, a grocery item and you geofence the grocery area, or if you're selling, a beauty product, you can geofence like the toiletries department in Walmart, something like that. That could give you a little bit more of an indicator rather than just the entire store.
okay, that suggestion right there was totally worth this. Like that was the 45-minute payoff right there. That is an amazing suggestion, Laura. Thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That's the end of the questions. That we ended on a high note for sure. Amazing suggestion, Laura. Thank you. You are super good at this. If you have any other questions, folks, there's still time. Obviously, put them in the questions box. But if you can't think of them, email us. Our email address is just, just info@revealmobile.com. We'll take those emails, whatever you've got, and whether they occur to you later today or next week, Laura and I both are happy to answer any questions you've got. And clearly, Laura is the smarter of the two. So come with us, whatever you got. Come at us with whatever you've got, and we'll be happy to answer questions about geofencing. Laura, thanks a ton for presenting this content. This was super useful.
Thank you, Dan. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.